Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video. And in this video I'm going to be going through my top 10 vintage collection figures of 2023. Now last week, just before the year was out, I did put out a video for figure of the year, but that is voted by you guys, the fans. I do it every year. I put a poll out and then I show you the results in a video, giving you the top 5 and ultimately who wins figure of the year. In that video, I did say, you know, that this is your opinions, it's not mine. And quite a few of you in the comments said, you know, which is my figure of the year? What are my top 10? So here I am making a video of my top 10 for last year, 2023, for the vintage collection. Now, of course, this is my list. It's my opinion. There are going to be some shockers in here. There's probably going to be some obvious ones as well. But I would like to know your top 10 or your favourite figure in the comment section below. And if you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And let's get into this. Okay then, so first up I've got two honourable mentions, which will probably surprise you aren't in my top 10 to be honest. But as I said, this is my list and I've got reasons why certain figures are in and certain figures are out. And the two honourable mentions are Boba Fett and Chrysanthemum, both from the book of Boba Fett. Now let's just get Bossk out the way very quickly and let's just talk about these two figures before we get onto the top 10. Now, on any other given year, these two figures could have got into my top 10, no problem at all. And there is an argument to say that both of them should have done anyway. They both are phenomenal figures. We were very spoilt last year in terms of the standard of the figures. But the figures I've got in my list, there are reasons behind why they are my favourites. And I've got to say, you know, furry figures, ones with hair, you know, it is difficult to replicate that in plastic. It's not really my favourite thing to look at, but having said that, they did a really, really good job with Chrysanthemum. There is no doubt about that. Absolutely phenomenal figure. Loads of accessories and everything. Bit unfair because he is a deluxe, but we're going to get to that later as well. At the end of the day, deluxes have to count because they are still figures, regardless of the price and all the accessories they come with and things like that. You still have to judge them against the other figures at the end of the day. But that's Chrysanthemum. He's an honourable mention. And this Boba Fett, the head sculpt on this guy is fantastic. Once again, loads of accessories with this guy. Amazing figure, really, really is. And but yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to get into my top 10. But the first figure in my top 10 for 2023 is the Clone Trooper Phase 2 armour. Now this is going to shock a few people because on its own, by itself, this isn't an amazing figure because the helmet is a bit ropey. But what I would say is the fact that we do now have this figure has opened it up for endless possibilities. And if we just look at that new 4-pack that we do have on the horizon with the 501st and the 332nd, where they don't have the removable helmet, that is what I've been wanting for so long from a Phase 2 Clone Trooper sculpt. It also allows them to do loads of Phase 1s as well. So just the fact that we've now got this brand new Clone Trooper sort of buck, we are able to get so many figures from it. And also, you know, the Andor card back is extremely nice as well. I absolutely love this one. But for that reason, it's in my top 10. Alright then, so in 9th place, I've gone for Velkin Tazeri. I don't really need to say too much about this figure really at the end of the day. He completes the skiff. And that is the main reason why he's in my top 10. There are other figures that are better technically and with better articulation and better paint apps and things like that that have come out this year or last year now. However, the fact that he completes the skiff and completes that scene, it was a must-have figure and just amazing that we got him in 2023. And he's not a bad figure either. He's got all the articulation, his paint apps are decent, you can take the headgear off and he has a decent head sculpt under there and everything. But that's why he makes my top 10 for the year and he's in 9th place. In 8th place, I've gone for the Grand Inquisitor. Now, in any other year, this guy could have been in the top 3, no problem at all. It is a phenomenal figure. Lots going on here, loads of articulation. He looks great. I love the fact that you get the unlit lightsaber which attaches to his back. These soft goods are nice. So just everything about him is really, really good. I've got to admit that the media that he is from probably put him down a few places on my list. I didn't enjoy the Obi-Wan series as much as I have done other series that Disney have put out. It was a little bit of a letdown, to be honest, but he was a good character. I enjoyed his performance, the actor's performance. I liked the look of him. I know some people had the issue with the head, that he should have had that sort of elongated head like they have in the Revenge of the Sith and in the animated series as well. But all in all, a really, really good figure. And the other thing that lets me down about this one is the fact that we need all the other Inquisitors to go with him to make him any use of him, really. We don't really have much else for him to go with. But you'll see later that I've got another figure quite high up in my list that hasn't got anything to go with it either. So, yeah. But there you go. That's the Grand Inquisitor. He is in 8th place. In 7th place, I've gone for General Hera Syndulla from the Ahsoka series. Once again, same with the Grand Inquisitor. This figure on any other year could have been right up near the top. But we are sport for choice this year. There's lots of great figures this year. I don't dislike the figure at all. I think she's fantastic. And I did enjoy, for the most part, the Ahsoka series. It got a little bit weird towards the end. But I did like the way that they converted her from the animated series. I think they did a pretty good job. And the figure's great as well. And also, decent card back with that purple going on. So if this was purely on card backs alone, you know, she would be a lot higher in my list. But she only makes it into 7th place. In 6th place, I've gone for Pre Vizsla. Now, with this figure, there is a fair amount of reuse going on, but they have done a phenomenal job with this character. I really like his paint apps going on, but really the best thing about this figure is the head sculpt. Of course, they didn't really have an actor or anyone to go by, but what they've come up with is absolutely fantastic. And in terms of the head, I would say that this is probably the most realistic head sculpt they've ever done for 3.75, and that's saying something. He looks absolutely phenomenal. When you get really close up with these figures, sometimes it can take away some of that detail. But, you know, if you have him, I don't know, maybe a foot away from your eyes, he just looks absolutely phenomenal. And also, they did a great job with the helmet as well. It's a really snug fit on that head, and therefore it's not oversized, it's not out of scale. We'll just put it on for you there. And once again, they've done an amazing job with that as well. So there you go, that's Pre Vizsla, and he's in 6th place. Alright then, so we move on to the top 5, and in 5th place I've gone for Cad Bane from the Book of Boba Fett. I really did like his appearance in the Book of Boba Fett. I thought he was absolutely awesome, and I think the figure just looks exactly like what he does in the show. I think they've done a phenomenal job. It looks exactly like the Black Series version. They've obviously used the same sort of digital sculpt and, you know, scaled this one down, but it really good. I love the way they've done the coat, so it looks like he's drawing his pistol there. Just all in all, a fantastic figure. I remember reviewing this one and being really impressed and thinking to myself there, he's going to be high up in my figure of the year. So he's in 5th place for my Vintage Collection figure of the year 2023. Alright then, so in 4th place I've gone for Darth Vader from the Death Star 2 on that Return of the Jedi card from the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. Now, if I was going to be voting on what my favourite item is from the Vintage Collection last year in 2023, it would be this. If you take the whole thing together, so the card back, the figure, everything. This card back is probably one of my favourite card backs that they've ever done in the whole of the line. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the figure is brilliant as well. Of course, the figure is based on the Dark Times Vader from the Obi-Wan series, which at the time was the best Darth Vader that we've ever had, and it probably still is, because he doesn't have the split mask or anything like that. And I would say that the only thing that lets this figure down is where that join comes for the mask. It doesn't sit 100% flush, but at certain angles you can't really see it. But I love the fact that you get the swappable hand, you get the unlit lightsaber, the mask comes apart, and the head sculpt is good enough. It's not quite Sebastian Shaw, but it's good enough. And the card back image, man, is just, oh, chef's kiss. They've done a phenomenal job with it. What a fantastic release in the Vintage Collection this was. But in terms of the figure itself, just the figure, he's in 4th place. In 3rd place, I've gone for Admiral Piet. Now, this one might surprise quite a few of you, because at the end of the day, some might say that this is a fairly boring figure. It's an Imperial officer. It's a man in a grey suit. But what I love about this figure, very similar to the Phase 2 Clone Trooper, is that this figure alone, this is what started it all. This one has enabled us to get lots of other figures that I've wanted. We've got a new Moff Jerjerrod. We've got a Grand Admiral Thrawn. We have the Krennic. They did an Officers 4-pack, and I'm sure they're not going to stop there either. We're going to get even more. And also, look at the fantastic card back that they did for Admiral Piet. What a fantastic card back. Very much like the Darth Vader. Very difficult for me to split the two on which one's my favourite. Probably the Darth Vader, but this one is a very close second. And This is Admiral Piet. He's in third place. The figure is great. It's not perfect, but it's probably the best we're ever going to get for a Imperial officer. It does everything I need it to do. It looks good. And I love the fact that when they brought out that 4-pack, they corrected his rank badge as well. I just thought that was a nice touch. But this one for me was a very, very welcome addition to the line. As I said, it just opens up so many other things. You know, when you even think about just Krennic and Thrawn alone, regardless of the other Imperial officers that we can now get, just those two alone have come from, you know, retooling this one basically. So Admiral Piet, important release for the year, and I was very, very happy with it. And he is in third place. Alright then, so in second place I've gone for Cassian Andor from the Andor series. This is a phenomenal figure. Now, some people may argue that this figure is actually from 2022, but I assure you it's not. He was in the first wave of 2023. Some of you may have got him early. I think I did. I think I may have reviewed him early. But I do remember the first time I saw this figure, like live, and that was at the London Comic Con. It was in the cabinet, and it just looked phenomenal. In fact, they had it standing next to the Black Series version of the same character and his same outfit and everything, and this one just blew that one away. That one was all shiny. This one's all matte. The paint apps, the head sculpt, everything about this figure is brilliant. Of course, the fact that I absolutely love the Andor series does help in my decision having this figure so highly ranked. And I also put some figures lower in my ranking because they don't have any other figures to go with. But I've ignored that for this one because I just love the figure so much. Of course, the Grand Inquisitor, great example. We don't really have any other of the Inquisitors. This guy doesn't really have anything to go with at all, which is a crying shame. But from a figure standpoint, by itself, I just think it's absolutely on point. I can't fault anything about it, and that is why he is second in my list. Alright then, so in first place of my top 10 vintage collection figures for 2023 is Paz Vizsla, or the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian as he used to be called. But this particular figure is something that we were waiting a very, very long time for. And to me, it just didn't disappoint. The one thing which I've mentioned before that they could have done a little bit better on is a bit of weathering on especially the grey areas of his suits and his legs. But apart from that, this figure is on point. It looks exactly like who it's supposed to look like. It's a chunky figure. There's so much going on. You get loads of accessories. Now, of course, it is a deluxe, which might give it a unfair advantage against some of the other figures, but you know, Chrysanthemum had that too, and he didn't make my top 10. But for me, the design of this figure, everybody loves Mandalorians, or most people love Mandalorians, and when this guy first made his appearance on the Mandalorian, that is the figure that I wanted them to make. And it's taken them, what, 3 years to make him? But I'm glad they finally have. And, you know, just everything about him. Maybe they could have given him a soft goods skirt as well at the back there. That would have been a bit better as well. But in terms of the accuracy and everything with this figure, I think they've done a phenomenal job. And also they gave you the extra accessories from his appearance in Book of Boba Fett as well, with the knife and the shield, which I don't have on at the moment. I've got him in like sort of flying mode. But I absolutely adore this figure. I think it's brilliant. And yeah, it's just a must-have for your collection. So for me, from an articulation point of view, paint apps point of view, design, just everything really, this is my figure of 2023. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you've enjoyed the video. That was my top 10. There was a few shockers in there, I know. And of course, the biggest omission is probably Darth Revan. Haven't even mentioned him. And the reason for that is because the expanded universe for me isn't something that's high on my priority. I didn't really play that game back in the day. And the character just himself just doesn't really have the pull that he has for a lot of other people. I know many, many people in the community absolutely love that figure and love that character. But for me, I prefer things that are on screen, even animated series or whatever, but actual, you know, shows, live action, that sort of thing. Video game figures are always fairly near the bottom in terms of priorities for me. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to know your top 10s as well. Put them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members as always for your extra support. Really, really do appreciate it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.